In 2025, my only goal is a simpler life. Less rushing, less stress, less clutter, more balance. The only problem is my home and my brain are not set up for a simpler life. One of those two things I have a little more control over, and that's the home. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next series of videos. It's my hope that modifying the former helps the latter and sets us up for a calmer, easier year. One filled with quality time and making memories over constantly fighting a losing battle with the house. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in your home, especially just after Christmas, come along and we can sort through it together. So we're starting off with this ridiculous shoe cupboard, and I actually used a random generator to decide which problem area of the house I was going to tackle first, because I just feel like that injects some fun into the process. I also used another random generator to pick a room in the house, and that's to dedicate 20 minutes focused attention, cleaning, tidying, whatever that room needs. So as you saw a second ago, it's shoe cupboard and downstairs toilet. And that's going to help with keeping on top of the house during this very stressful process where everything's getting pulled out of cupboards and moved around, and quite frankly, things are going to look and seem worse before they look better. But I know to trust the process, try not to get overwhelmed, and we're all going to benefit so much from the end result. It just might take a while to get there, and that's okay. So as I was saying, I can't change the way my brain's wired in a massive way, but what I can do is work with it and make the home more functional. So what I'm doing first is I'm getting everything out. This is years and years worth of clutter, by the way. I just hadn't mustered the strength to sort through it all up until this point. So we've kind of just been enduring the fact that we can never find anything in here. But anyway, I'm getting everything out and putting it all onto the kitchen floor because it helps to see everything laid out as opposed to taking things out one by one and sorting through it that way. That's just my personal preference though. Plus, if you take it all out in one go, that means you can't quit halfway through and you have to commit to it. Now, sorting through this cupboard is usually Charlie's job, and believe it or not, he does it quite often. The only thing he doesn't do is declutter anything. He just organises it and puts things back into place. And I'm going to be honest here, I'm the one that messes it up every time. And I've had a good think as to why I find it so difficult to just keep it tidy. I've had a good think about the issues and what to do about all the problem areas of the house. And we're going to get to each one. As I said, it's going to be a series. But aside from there being too much stuff, obviously, it's a height thing. I'm really short, I'm just 5 foot, and when it comes to this cupboard, me and the kids are restricted somewhat because of our height. Look at Ike helping me pull that box out, bless him. So we've got that big box there at the back, we've got the shoe rack that spans all the way up the wall. If you go back, just compare my height to that, and you can see Charlie's put some of my shoes right at the top. Granted, I don't wear heels often at all anymore, so that's fine. And then the floor's usually covered with other shoes and coats that we don't have room for on the hooks or the side rack. So when there's shoes and stuff on the floor and it's piled up even slightly, I genuinely can't reach the coat rack. Or I manage to and then loads of coats fall off because there's already too many coats on there. And when you're doing that every day, struggling to do something as simple as get a coat or a pair of shoes, it really can tip you over the edge before the day's even started. But yeah, because it happens so often, coats falling off, piles happening, it flips a switch in my brain and I just think, what's the point? This cupboard's a write-off. Why bother trying to put anything in its place because it always ends up as a massive pile? Which I know is not the right attitude to have, but there you go. So I'm going to try and tweak the layout just slightly to make it more accessible. And I mean just slightly because we've not got much to work with, have we? Let's be honest. Anyway, all of this was what was crammed into that tiny space. So what I've done here is I've made 3 different piles. A keep pile, a throwaway/donate pile, and a pile of stuff that we're going to keep but that doesn't live in that cupboard. Because that's another thing that usually happens when a pile manifests itself in this house. It starts off innocent, as a pile of stuff that's meant to be in there, but then as the pile gets bigger, because unfortunately everyone in this house has a disposition when they see a pile to just add to it, but eventually it becomes so huge and ridiculous that people, mostly me, just start adding other things to it. Things I can't find space for but I don't want to see on surfaces or cluttering up the living space. And then it will gradually, or not so gradually, evolve into a space to stash and hide things from view. Think Monica Geller's secret shame cupboard. And that's all well and good. Most people have like a messy drawer or messy cupboard for miscellaneous things. Problem is, we're still trying to get our shoes and coats out of there every day. It's just not practical and it's ridiculous, and I want to leave this nonsense in 2024. The amount of times last year I was late for work because I couldn't find one of my work shoes. And hey, I'm not unrealistic. I know my brain. I've lived with myself for 32 years. I've tried fighting my nature. Tried getting up at 5 a.m. and getting ahead of the day. Turns out I'm very much not a morning person, and I spend the whole day fighting to keep my eyes open. I've tried stacking habits, tried visual cues and reminders, and it just never sticks. And I'm over fighting myself and trying to change myself. Aside from my disastrous time management and organisation skills, I'm actually a pretty cool person and life's good. I'm easygoing, I'm a good mum and a good partner. And I think we should all take the time to remind ourselves of our good qualities. We spend so much time judging ourselves. And I've wasted so much energy trying to force myself to be someone I'm just not. So we're going with a new approach this year. Instead of trying to change Remi, we're going to Remi-proof the house. And I'm also committed to just letting go a little bit. Doing things slowly and at a pace that doesn't push me into burnout. If that pace doesn't match the rest of the world, so what? So, if this series continues for months on end, and you see some of the Christmas decorations up still in February, mind your business, I'm getting to it. ADHD folks will relate, but when I push myself too hard, and I'm too rigid trying to adhere to some new routine I've written out in a notebook as the new gospel I have to stick to, the amount of new notebooks I have lying around the house with a new life routine on the front page that's never to be seen again is ridiculous. Same with diets and exercise plans. But you see, we do want more than anything to be like other people and have consistency in our lives. And consistently tidy spaces that don't feel like we've given an arm or leg or climbed Mount Everest every day to achieve. So I'll go through cycles with the house, and I'll get to a low point, and I will force myself to be a tidy person. I'll devote all of my energy to it, and everything else in my life suffers because I am so all or nothing, and I am not good with compartmentalising and multitasking. And ultimately, what happens is my mental health tanks. I become exhausted. I get mum guilt because I've spent all day trying to pick up, or my life's not enriched because I can't engage in my hobbies. And then the house suffers anyway because it's not something I can maintain. I've spoken so much about why people with ADHD struggle with picking up as we go along, so I won't go into it again here, but just know it's mentally exhausting, and we are trying very hard and expending so much energy just to try and keep up with the basics. And I'll get back to that topic in just a second, but what I've done is declutter the shoes from the shoe rack, and now I'm doing the same with the coats. 5 of the coats in this pile are Charlie's, and you've seen Charlie, he's like a giant compared to me, so his coats take up a lot of room in that tiny cupboard, but he doesn't want to part with any of them. And what I'm not doing is putting them all back on the hooks, because it's just not fair. And that's the reason all of the other coats end up falling off, and it's just one of those what I call chaos triggers. Things that trigger a cascade of silly events like giant doom piles. And I want to get rid of those triggers this year. Anyway, back to what I was saying. This time last year, because over the last few years I've been trying very hard to keep a tidier space, and I've been figuring out systems and methods that work for me, and we've come a long way, I'll say that. But it's my nature to take things to the extreme. And so at the start of last year, I became so invested in trying to keep a tidy space and keep on track and not lose that momentum that I started putting time frames over my head for everything. And that is because I work best under pressure. If there's an imminent deadline, I will work my bum off to meet that deadline. So January last year, I was doing my New Year declutter, but I had self-imposed deadlines looming over my head that I needed to get it done by a certain time. And I had the idea that I get this done and then I have time to relax. Trouble is with me, as I'm doing that thing, my brain will be scouting for new things I need to get done. And I need to get that done by a new imaginary deadline, otherwise I've failed and I'm behind. I can relax after I've done that. And it was just that silly cycle And it's been that same continuous cycle all through the year up until December. Especially with the added pressure now with filming and editing everything I'm doing and wanting to get that put out by a certain time. So this year I just want an easy, slow, gentle life where I'm getting things done, but I also have time to stop and smell the roses and take everything in. I want to be productive, but I want that productivity to feel like a lifestyle instead of one mad rush and one project after another that I'm racing to finish. Because there's no downtime that way. And again, it just leads to burnout and me wondering why chaos builds up around me so often. It's lack of balance. It's being all or nothing, but not being able to manage being that way. It often feels like I'm working so hard in preparation for my life to start and for relaxation to begin. I'm working to get things out of the way and finished. But life and things around the house, which are my projects because that's the thing my hobby, my videos, are centred around, those things never get finished. And it's something I need to come to terms with, that you can't be all or nothing with this. There has to be systems in place and balance in order for life to be full and enjoyable, and for every area of your life to be nurtured. And I don't know if everyone's going to be able to relate to that strange ramble. Maybe it is just common sense and very obvious, but for anyone who knows what it's like to hyperfixate on a hobby, like I said, for me, it's making videos and talking about this topic, irony being as well that I've made the one thing I struggle with the most into my hobby, so it's very paradoxical. But it's hard to spread your attention out evenly to all of the important things in your life when you are hyper-focused on something to that extent. And I say it all the time, but balance is my ultimate goal. And so this year, the deadlines, they are going. I'm going to get things done, but I'm not rushing to get them done. My mum actually popped in today and said, "When are you taking your Christmas tree down?" When I get to it. Anyway, so what I've done here to make it more accessible and hopefully stop it getting bad again, and it might seem so obvious to other people, but I've turned that box sideways, which creates a path for me to get to the coat hooks. The shorter you are, the lower down your shoes are on the shoe rack. Genius concept, I know. And the box is open, because if you're anything like me and a box is closed, the contents may as well not exist. So we've got things like coats and hats and things we don't want to throw away because we do use, just not daily, in there. And what I'm doing here is bagging up everything we're going to donate, because there's some really good stuff in there. We've got a baby carrier. We only put Ike in a few times, because if you know me, I used to suffer with postpartum anxiety when my babies were little. And my mind just wouldn't let me rest when Ike was in the carrier because I was stressed out by positional asphyxiation. But it's a really good baby carrier. We've got loads of pairs of wellies that the boys have just grown out of, some lovely coats and jackets. So yeah, hopefully this stuff can make another family's day. And getting it out of this house made my day. And we're only just getting started. Overall, we got 2 bags of stuff to donate and 2 bags of stuff that needed to go to the tip. So if you end up watching this whole series, tally up how many bags we ended up getting rid of overall. I don't know if you noticed, but during all of my Christmas decorating, I just shoved all of the normal cushions and blankets in the cupboard, so I'm giving them a wash, and I bagged up all of the Christmas blankets and cushions. Anyway, like I said earlier, to help me get through this process, I'm using random generators again. And if you don't know what that is, it's where you input lots of different rooms or tasks, and then you press a button and it spins a wheel and it picks something for you. I just find it takes away the difficulty of choice, because sometimes I get stuck with what to do first. And like I said, it makes it fun. So what I've decided to do is actually use 2 different random generators, one for all of my decluttering tasks, and then the other, I've just inputted every room in the house, some twice, and that'll be for 20 minutes focused attention, cleaning, tidying, whatever that room needs, just to help manage the chaos whilst I'm distracted with the decluttering and the house is kind of uprooted. I'll still obviously be doing the normal daily cleans, but I'm hoping this will stop me from getting overwhelmed, because that ultimately affects the whole family and I don't want that. I want this whole process to be as easy and as chilled as possible. So as you can see here, I got the downstairs toilet as my 20-minute clean. And I was very pleased about that because it was one of the less messy rooms in the house. And after the colossal task that was the shoe cupboard, that was just what I needed. Please ignore my sock slipper combo. I want to be comfy. Found them in the shoe cupboard. That's something I'm not changing in 2025. My desire to be comfy. Although, and I think this was actually a resolution last year as well, But I would like to actually do my hair and makeup more this year and get out of my PJs more. And this is specifically for when I know I've not got to go anywhere important, because that's generally the only time I'll make an effort, if I'm going to work or out for dinner. But I'm trying to adopt the mindset that it doesn't have to be a special occasion to get out of my pyjamas. I just think it might help me feel more put together and on the ball, and set the day off to a good start. Because it makes you feel more productive, doesn't it? That and making my bed in the mornings. I mean, it goes without saying, really, that getting dressed out of your pyjamas makes you feel more productive. But these are generally two things that I just think, does it really matter? I'm making a bed just to get back into it later. I'm doing my hair and makeup and getting out of my PJs when I'm not going anywhere. And honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to stop feeling like that deep down. But I want to implement some healthy, positive changes this year that don't feel too overwhelming at the same time. This is not something I'm going to do every day though, because I just love being snuggly and comfy, especially in my home. And why should we not feel that way in our own homes? But just starting a few times a week, I want to do my hair in a different way and choose a nice outfit, even if it is just to potter around the house. Because I used to have a really cute sense of style, and at one time I found joy in styling outfits. At the minute it's just the same every day, PJs until I have to go out, and even then that's pushing it. Every colleague at work knows what I look like in my PJs, and that's not from these videos, it's because I'll even nip to the shop in them. If you don't know, I work at Asda and I shop there too. I just do not care what other people think, and yes, to a certain extent, that's a great thing. But I think this attitude's come around because I used to care too much. I used to be so insecure about being short, about my hairline, about my rosy red cheeks. Up until my mid-20s, I'd never leave the house without a full face of makeup and high heels. Oh, the pain. Have you ever seen that episode of Modern Family where they go to Disneyland and Gloria wears these ridiculous high heels and ends up in agony? That was me everywhere we went. I used to fall over all the time too because I couldn't walk in them properly. But somehow, I still found being short more humiliating than falling over in the street in front of a load of strangers. I used to stress myself out so much about how people perceived me. And over the years, in order to live life to the full and not spend the rest of my days insecure and uncomfortable, I had to push myself out of my comfort zone and keep pushing myself out of my comfort zone, which is something I absolutely advocate for in all areas of life. This is how we grow. But I had to wear the flat shoes and let people see me without makeup. Trouble is now, I am way too comfortable leaving the house looking like Miss Trunchbull but with the confidence of a Victoria's Secret model. Anyway, that's my 20 minutes up, and I have literally rambled all the way through that bathroom clean, but it's smelling fresh and life's feeling good. Next up, we've got this gigantic pile of laundry to sort through, and the wheel also landed on the kitchen to clean after this. Just for context, this was a few days after the cupboard declutter. I'm not making myself do things one after the other, I'm giving myself a break in between. If you've been following for a long time, you'll know that I have struggled consistently with this laundry pile for what feels like forever. It's never empty, pretty much always overflowing. Those 2 black bags are full of overflow laundry because I thought, well, that's better than the clothes just flooding the landing floor. So first things first, we're going to sift through and declutter as much as we can. As to be expected with a laundry pile this size, half of the stuff at the bottom the kids have grown out of, so that made my job lots easier. I also found lots of stuff that the boys wear home from my mum's, and those clothes are actually supposed to live at hers. So when you see me throwing stuff behind me, that's a pile of clothes that's supposed to go back to my mum's house. Anyway, this year I refuse to be sentimental with the kids' clothes. Sentimentality is one of my main problems when it comes to holding on to things, especially things the kids have worn. But I'm trying to tell myself, look, did you remember this item of clothing when it was sitting at the bottom of that laundry basket for 6 months? No, you forgot it exists. So you'll be able to manage and cope without it when you donate it too. Reducing the amount of stuff is going to make our life so much simpler. But unfortunately in this house, it isn't the be-all end-all solution, because I tried it last year and the year before. So another thing I'm going to do is get more laundry baskets. And I know a lot of people don't agree with this. When I discussed it a few months back, people were like, you're essentially just making more places to stash things and it's not going to actually solve the problem. I also got, if you did 1 wash a day and kept on top of it, you wouldn't have a pile in the first place. I do multiple washes a day, but what usually happens is I sift through the top layer, or I'll dig and pull everything out to find what I need and wash that over and over again. And so the size of the pile never really changes. And to address another common comment, it's not that we're washing items before they actually need washing. They need washing. We have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old who loves to paint. Things get messy. Me and Charlie are both very active. Our jobs are active. I don't want to wear sweaty, smelly clothes. So my plan to Remi-proof this particular area was to add more laundry baskets. It was originally going to be one per family member, and then people suggested it would be better to do something like one for lights, one for darks, and one for colours. And when I had a proper think about it, that was more sensible. And it's actually been a week in since I've had this system. Obviously, I'm doing this voiceover after the fact, and my goodness, it has already changed my life. The washing is so much more efficient. I'm getting through it quicker because I'm not wasting time sifting through. I'm just pulling out a pile and getting it done. And that's not even factoring in how much it's reduced my anxiety, because the visual clutter is gone. Obviously, I'll show you the final product later on in the video. And this might not work for everybody, and people might think it's silly or that I've not decluttered enough or been ruthless enough. But this is a continuous process, and this is progress, and it's all adding towards the goal of a simpler life. Maybe down the line I can tweak systems and declutter more, but it is one step at a time. And if you're in the same position as me, find things that work and feel comfortable to you. Don't feel like you have to follow someone else's plan, unless, of course, following someone else's advice and just letting someone else take the reins is what's going to help you mentally. But if getting rid of what feels like too much too soon hurts your heart or gives you that sad feeling in the middle of your gut, start small and work towards where you eventually want to be. You don't have to do everything all at once, and usually when you start to declutter and you realise how much it improves your quality of life, it becomes easier and easier each time to let go of things. A lot of people don't realise there can be so many underlying reasons people hold on to more than they actually need. Like I said, for me, it's sentimentality. I touched on this in my other decluttering videos last year, but genuinely, getting rid of something, especially something I was gifted by a family member, even if I don't particularly like it or I'm never going to use it. By the way, my laundry baskets hadn't arrived yet, so I was putting the keep pile back into the laundry basket until that time, but it's not going to stay like that. But yeah, when I'm gifted something from someone I love, I anthropomorphise the item and associate it with that person, and getting rid of it feels like a betrayal. I've always got this voice in the back of my head saying, this person won't be here forever and you'll want to have these things to remember them by. And I'll get back to that in a minute, but we're onto the kitchen now for my 20-minute speed clean. And here are all the bags of kids' toys from different family members, and I am stressed, as usual. One of my goals is to massively declutter the amount of toys in the boys' room, but that's a video for another day. And for the time being, I'm just moving all of the bags out of the kitchen and into their room. But yeah, so I hold on to and collect things people have given me, even if I've no use for them. And I do the exact same when I have to get rid of my kids' clothes that they no longer fit into. I get a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach and I just think, they won't be this small ever again. And getting rid of anything just overwhelms me with guilt. And I have no idea why I'm like this, but it's something I'm continuously working on. But for some other people, holding on to resources stems from trauma or from lack in childhood. And when they do try to declutter or get rid of things, they feel this massive loss of control or like the world's falling from under their feet. Because accumulating resources feels like a safety net. There are lots of reasons. So to suggest it's just as simple and as easy as throwing things out and it should all be done at once really lacks nuance, and it trivialises that person's experience. Sometimes it does have to be done gradually. Anyway, for this 20 minutes, my main goal was to get rid of the bags, which I've just done. By get rid of, I mean transfer to another room. And at this point, that is just unavoidable because we don't have room for all the contents. And my second goal was to get rid of all the Christmas decorations in this room. Like I said, I'm not pushing myself to pull down all the decorations throughout the house all at once. I'm doing it in sections. Because whilst I'm decluttering, there's already bags everywhere and everything's up in the air. And if I add bags and boxes of decorations to that, it will get to the point where I'll just freeze, and I can't afford for that to happen. Unfortunately, at the minute, me and Charlie rely on my dad to put things in the attic for us. We do have a ladder, but it's not tall enough to take us all the way up, and the only person that can get in there is my dad because he can lift his own body weight and pull himself up there. If you've seen my previous video where I was cleaning his house, you'll understand. He's very into his fitness. But me and Charlie just can't get into the attic with the ladders we've got. My stepdad's eventually going to make one of those things where the ladders drop down when you open the hatch. But until then, we kind of have to wait for Dad to visit to put things up there. But when we do have that, again, it'll be another thing that just simplifies our lives massively and reduces the mess throughout the house. Anyway, so after I took down the Christmas fridge magnets, I gave the fridge a clean. And the next task was to get rid of the window art. So I went with a different removal approach this time. Remember a few months ago I got rid of the Halloween window art? And I did it with a sponge and washing up liquid, and honestly, it took hours. And it was very messy. Well, I've brought a scraper tool to try out now, and it did take a while for me to get the hang of it. I was like, why is this not scraping anything off? Turns out I was using it the wrong way round, and it's angled towards a particular direction. But we got the hang of it, and yeah, it cut the time down massively. And it is so therapeutic. I definitely went over my 20 minutes by just a fraction. But you'll see in a minute when I go to scrape off the lights at the bottom, that's when I figured out you're meant to turn it round. And you'll see just how much easier it starts to come off. Anyway, whilst I'm getting this done, and in honour of reaching 200,000 subscribers, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who's followed along for the past 2 years, and for everyone who's just recently found this channel and decided to stick around. I started this account in January 2023, and I never dreamed I'd reach this kind of milestone. I'm so ridiculously grateful. You've absolutely changed mine and my family's life. Before I created this channel, I used to spend every month further and further into my overdraft, and buying a forever home was just so far out of our reach. And now I don't have to live with that worry anymore, and a deposit for a family home is well on the way, and I get to do something I absolutely love to do. And it's all because of you guys choosing to come back and watch time and time again. Putting yourself out there on social media, you open yourself up to a lot of hate and criticism. I work on other platforms too, and hands down, the community here on YouTube is the kindest and the most encouraging. And it's been so lovely watching you support each other in the comments as well. So thank you. I hope I can continue making videos that help and support you through your cleans and chat away with you for a long time to come. Do you know what else I'm excited for? Getting back out in that garden. Can you see all of that cardboard? When I filmed this, it was that weird period between Christmas and New Year where everything's kind of in limbo and the recycling doesn't get taken for like 3 weeks. So we've got a bit of an accumulation going on after Christmas. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the plants we planted last summer grow and flourish this year. Maybe we'll get some flowers on the wisteria this year and some fruit on the plum tree. Everything's kind of died back and gone to a greeny grey, and it's a very sorry state, but that's winter, isn't it? It's just hard for me to look at because of how much work I put in and how beautiful it finally started to look, but I'm betting it'll be even more beautiful this summer. And I'm still waiting on visitors for my bee hotel. Anyway, I know I went over my 20 minutes to finish this, but I drew the line at actually starting to clean it. The sun was starting to set, and I really am trying to stick to this idea of not pushing myself too much and doing everything in moderation. And another reason I'm doing these kind of timed cleaning sessions is so that I can draw a line under it for the day and focus the rest of my time being with my family and being present. I'm doing the same thing with editing. I'm doing a certain amount each day and a certain amount of voiceover each day, and then that's it. And it means I'm not taking it to the extreme and living a really unbalanced life, because that's what I have been doing. There's been occasions I've spent the entire day sat in the bedroom doing a voiceover. Obviously, I've only been doing this for a few years and I am still figuring it out, but I definitely don't recommend doing things that way. And if that means it takes longer for me to do things, so be it if it means I can maintain what I'm doing without eventually burning out and becoming overwhelmed. And so far, it seems to be working. My stress levels have gone down massively. Just to interrupt myself for a second here, it's the next day and here me and Charlie are building up our new laundry baskets. And as you can see, each laundry basket has got 2 different compartments, and there's bags you can unattach and carry your laundry downstairs or wherever it is you need to take it to. So I think that's going to be really handy for me, and it's going to stop that block of not wanting to carry things downstairs in a big pile in my arms. But back to what I was saying, and this is relevant to the laundry block, not being able to do things in moderation, just all of the topics I've touched upon in this video really. Again, I know this is probably very niche, and this is what the majority of people do anyway. They compartmentalise their day and they do a bit of everything. But I do make these videos for people like me, especially neurodivergent people who struggle with balance and black and white thinking, and who find what other people find simple and everyday not so simple. So if you're thinking, come on, this is all just common sense, it might be for you, but it's not for everybody. Anyway, so as you probably noticed, we've gotten rid of the landing bin. This is another attempt to Remi-proof the house. In fact, it's an attempt to family-proof the house, because for some reason, what we start doing when the bin's full, instead of emptying it, is we'll just pile stuff on the top of it. I've not managed to find a way to stop us from doing that when we're stressed or distracted or in a rush. So my only solution now is to take the bin away altogether. And I'll update you on how that goes. So what's happening here is we've got 4 laundry baskets, one for darks, one for lights, one for bright colours, and then Charlie's got one to himself. In this house, Charlie's laundry is his own responsibility because I've got enough on my plate doing mine and the boys. That's just what works best for us as a family. And you will have noticed these ones are quite wide, and the one next to the bathroom door kind of overtakes the door a little bit. So it's not the neatest setup, but honestly, the difference this is going to make and has already made to my mental health far outweighs it not looking perfect. And like I said earlier, I'm already getting far more washing done because it's simplified it for me. And the mental block when it comes to the laundry, the having to pull everything out to find what I need and everything being piled all over the floor and overwhelming, that's no longer there. So here's another problem area, Remi-proofed. 2 areas checked off the list in this video, and I am feeling very accomplished and very relieved, and spurred on now to get more done. I used my spin the wheel app again, and the next job to tackle is the boys' bedroom and decluttering all of the toys. So that'll be first up in the next video. Like I said, this is going to be a series. I don't know how many episodes, it depends, but I'm going to be taking it easy and doing things at a slower pace. I do have a list of everything I want to tackle, so I'll tell you that now so you know what to look forward to. So I need to declutter the toys in the bedroom, declutter the toys in the living room, declutter Rudy's clothes, declutter Ike's clothes, and declutter my bedroom, which includes my clothes. So yeah, from this particular area, I gathered 3 bags of clothes to donate. On top of the bags from the shoe cupboard, that's 7 bags in total decluttered from 2 areas. I'd say that's really good going. It's a very positive start, and life already feels so much easier just from that. I can't tell you what it feels like in the morning to be able to open that shoe cupboard and find what we need. And long may this continue. I've come so far in 2 years, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. And I hope watching this has helped show you that you can do this too. If you're in a similar situation to me, we can do this together. We have got this. 2025, or whatever year you're watching this in, is going to be our year. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.